Hello everyone, today we will be learn our new architecture aptitude topic ancient civilization, ancient Mesopotamia civilization. Now talking about Mesopotamia, Mesopotamia means lands between rivers, that is called as Mesopotamia. The two rivers referred to Tigris and Euphrates, and the land was known as Al Jazeera, from where the Mesopotamian civilization began. Mesopotamia was an ancient region in the eastern Mediterranean, bounded the northeast by the Zagros Mountains and in the southeast by the Arabian Plateau, corresponding to today's Iraq. Four broad segments of chronology: Proto-Literate period, early dynastic period, Sumerian period, and Assyrian period. Now, these are the different periods. Proto-Literate period, which is 3500 to 3000 BC. Early dynastic period, which is 3000 to 2350 BC. Sumerian period, which is 2350 to 1600 BC, and Assyrian period, which is 1350 to 612 BC. So these are the four broad segments of chronology of Mesopotamian civilization. Okay, now segments of chronology. Proto-Literate period. During this time, the towns which had probably evolved from agriculture villages, the temple and ziggurat began to gain the architectural definition. Early dynastic period, a democracy emerged in the time. With it raised the monumental place, an administrative center with rising and supplying an army and maintaining the defensive system of the city. Sumerian period, the first part of the period is dominated by the third dynasty of Ur. Was building activity include the ziggurat of Ur Namu, the high point of that building type. Assyrian period, the northern region of the two rivers flourishes at the expense of lower Mesopotamia. The Assyrian, by their imposing state reliefs and their places, like the one at Khorsabad. Now layout of city. Now you can see the land between Euphrates and Tigris river. So this one is the Euphrates river. This one is the Tigris river. So a land between Euphrates and Tigris river, which is developed as Mesopotamian civilization. By early dynastic period, the Mesopotamian cities containing from 10,000 to 15,000 people proposed both in lower Mesopotamia and further northern in Babylonia. Mesopotamian cities were defined by their walls. Walls were built to protect early settlements, the shrines of the gods, to annual threat of flooding. Fortifications were constructed of brick and stone. Mesopotamian cities were Ur, Uruk, Kish, Lagash, and Umma. So these are the main cities of Mesopotamia city. So we can see Umma, Lagash, then Uruk, Ur, Ur. These are the main cities. Kish. So these are the main cities of Mesopotamian civilization. Now cities of Ur. Cities began to emerge in Mesopotamia around 4500 years ago. Ur, the capital of ancient Sumeria, was the world's first city. The city was closed by a wall, which we can see. So these are the massive walls, fortification walls. These are the fortified walls and surrounded by suburban village and hamlets. The two monumental centers were the ziggurat complex with its own defensive wall. So you can see in this red one, which is ziggurat, with his its own defensive wall, overseen by the powerful priesthood, the place of the king. And these are the other places: Gimparu, Temenos Wall. This one is the Temenos Wall, which is a high fortification wall. This one is Ur, three royal tomb places. These purple ones are the other settlement residential areas, suburban villages. Now, city of Ur, the plan of Mesopotamia emerged as its population grew and the needs had to be met. Street would be 10 to wing and be narrow. The huddled building offered shade to the pedestrians. The temple and ziggurat were accessible. So you can see this pyramidal steps like a structure which is called as ziggurat. So this one is a ziggurat structure. Stepped pyramidal like a structure, three entrance gateway with steps, lots of steps and placing on high platform. And these are the residential areas. The houses were for the most part one-storied structure of mud brick with several rooms wrapped around a central court. The wealthier classes of Ur lived in ample houses arranged on two-storied and whitewashed inside out. So this one is the typical layout of Mesopotamian residential houses. So first we can see the lobby area. This one is a lobby area. Then second one is a courtyard, which is open space and gathering space. Third one is a staircase for the first floor. Fifth one is a kitchen. So this one is a kitchen. Then sixth one is a chapel. Seventh one is guest room. So these are the different parts of residential area for Mesopotamian civilization. Temple of Ziggurat. The temple constitute the heart of the city. For the people, the field and their produce belonged to the deity. The temple complex was the hub of an economic system that has been described as theocratic socialism with its own wall around it. It formed the last bulwark against the city's enemies. So this one is a typical structure of ziggurat. We can see the pyramidal steps like a structure, three side entryway by lots of steps, and this one is a typical plan of ziggurat. Now next is city of Uruk, the largest settlement of the region in the Protelerate period. The mud brick fortification early dynastic period measured nearly 10 kilometers in length and enclosed a vast area of 435 hectares. In early times, temple dominated the city of Uruk. In late period places, the dwelling of kings occupied the central position. A Sumerian city was further divided into different districts: residential, administrative, industrial, and the asymmetry. A different social classes mixed together and overlapping of a task occurred. So this one is the typical layout of city Uruk. So these are different buildings: Ziggurat building, White Temple, which is very famous in Uruk. So White Temple is very famous Ziggurat building. The White Temple is a fine example of an early Sumerian high temple to the worship of sky god. Sits on a terrace 30-meter high. The mud brick walls were covered on the outside with white plaster. The exterior walls are buttressed. Three long rectangular units form the tripartite ground plane and the temple. The center portion, a large hall, contain at one end a stepped school for a cult statue, and in the center an altar. So this one is a typical plan of white temple which we can observe different shrines, and we can see this one is a temple area with high wall, and this one is 30-meter height on terrace. So this height is 13 meter. Now writing system of Mesopotamian civilization. Now cuneiform is a method of ancient Mesopotamian writing that was used to write different languages in ancient Near East. Writing was invented multiple times in different places in the world. One of the earliest written scripts in cuneiform, which first developed in ancient Mesopotamia between 3400 and 3100 BCE. So we can see this cuneiform method which is very famous in Mesopotamian civilization. So this one is a typical writing system of Mesopotamian civilization which we can observe in this image, both image. So let's have a quick recap. So now talking about two different cities of Mesopotamian civilization which are very famous cities in between Euphrates and Tigris river. So first is Ur or Uruk. So origin, Ur is origin firstly city under the Mesopotamian civilization, while Uruk is discovered later. Then location of Ur. So further to the river Euphrates, and Uruk is close to river Euphrates higher plinth. So Uruk is on higher plinth and Ur is on lower plinth. Now talking about the city Ur. Street design depending on the population and needs. While talking about Uruk, a well-designed city emerged. In city Ur, mud bricks and stone fortification, while in Uruk, only mud brick fortification happened. Talking about the society, Ur, different differentiation based on social status about the society. Now in city Uruk, there is no segregation of social class. The whole city is unite together. Ziggurat and temples were the hub of the Ur city, while palaces and dwelling of kings occupied the central position later on Uruk. Main building of Ur is Ziggurat, and main buildings of Uruk is white temple, white plaster and buttresses. Thank you.